Welcome to Evan Makovsky's business podcast for C-suite executives. And it's my pleasure to have on this episode the owner of First Rate Tech, Chris Hobbick. Chris, hope you're well. Let's hop right into the questions. Can you give everyone a brief overview of First Rate Tech?
Yeah, in short, we do tech support and web design for small businesses.
So that was you said in short, and that was a short answer. No doubt about it. You backed it up. So why don't you just tell me, if you want to do it in short or medium, how First Rate Tech was developed and you got into this line of work?
Well, it's interesting. I've been in the IT field for a couple of decades. I worked for very large corporations, really holding every position from a help desk agent up to a director of IT. And, along the way, I had a lot of friends in New York City that had small businesses, and they just knew me as, the computer guy. And I would get calls frequently of, listen, I'm in a jam, my email's down. I got a computer infection. There's something funky going on with my website. Would you mind taking a look? And after about the 100th phone call or favor that I did for these friends, I said, you know what? There's something here. There's a business opportunity where IT professionals are not serving small businesses. And I would define that as like the 1 to 50 employee type business. So that was it. I started First Rate Tech. All those friends took me on, they were my first clients, and it just evolved from there.
Okay, so let me ask you, what are First Rate Tech's core services? And what kind of small businesses, and I know you don't only serve small businesses, but that's kind of a sweet spot for you.
Yeah.
What kind of businesses do you typically serve?
I mean, it's a really wide range, but I have a couple like small financial boutiques. I have a real estate development company. I also have like a real estate management company. It really varies. I have some private psychologists. I have a few law firms. But these are, I would largely say, the professional services industries. I would say my sweet spot is sort of around that like 10 to 15 employee. I would say the majority of my clients are like that, where you got a couple of million in revenue, you got a handful of employees, you got an actual business, but you're not big enough to justify a full-time IT person. And the whole managed service provider framework just doesn't really work for them. They don't have data centers and all that stuff.
So when a small business engages with you, and you had detailed this to me a little bit before the interview about a 10-pack of tech support, you kind of feel like that's a good number. So why don't you delve into what that is?
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting story. So in 2023, I started the business in 2018, and business was good. Like I said, from the very first day, I got a bunch of existing clients, and I was up and running. I was fortunate to where I didn't focus on a business pipeline, and I really didn't focus on any marketing. I was just running. But I didn't really know how to price my services. So honestly, I had a mix of just doing what everybody else does. For the people that needed me occasionally, they just got individual invoices. And then I had a couple of clients that were on a monthly retainer. Well, in 2023, I experienced my first downturn. Things slowed down. The phone stopped ringing. I actually lost a couple of clients. No fault of the quality of my service, but just their own economic conditions. And then I had a couple other clients that shrunk their retainer. And I said, wow, this is this isn't good. I actually felt the pinch.
Yeah.
And so for the first time, I tried to do some legitimate marketing. I'm sort of embarrassed to say this, but I took $10,000. I launched a 6-month ad campaign, and I cast a pretty wide net. I did some email marketing, some LinkedIn marketing, some SEO campaign, and I got nothing. At the end of 6 months, I did not get one new piece of business from that. And I was really deflated. And I was actually kind of concerned of, God, is the end in sight of this first-rate tech? There just really seemed to be no appetite for jumping into like an annual monthly retainer or anything like that. So I had a shower moment. Honestly, I kind of related it to the fitness industry. Gym memberships sell memberships. Everyone signs up for a gym membership in January, and by April, 70% of the people are churning because they haven't shown up.
Quicker than that, take it from a former personal trainer. I believe like some people, there's a high percentage of people that are out by March 1.
Yeah, exactly. But in the same breath, you have all these fitness studios. You have these yoga studios, cycle studios, HIIT studios, and they don't sell memberships. They sell classes. And you can buy a 3-pack of classes, a 10-pack of classes, and there's always lines out the door. And those classes aren't cheap either. Barry's Boot Camp, for example, I think it's about $40 for a class, and it's only a 45-minute class. So I had this epiphany where I said, is it really that simple? Do I just sell like a 10-pack of tech support hours on demand? Hours never expire. I ran it by a couple of people in my network, and they said, no one's going to go for that. But the last time I had that gut feeling where people were sort of saying no, it played out very well for me. So I said, I'm going to try it. So I stopped all my marketing. I only stuck to email marketing. And I said, here's the email sequence. I'm just selling 10 packs of tech support hours. That's it. On demand. And the first month, I really didn't get nothing. But by the second month, I got 4 new clients.
Probably, I'm sorry to interject, but probably the benefit, just off what you were saying, I would think, and I'm just projecting, just sort of trying to put myself in a small business's shoes, is maybe they don't want to be, even though they need those 10 hours a month, just in their mind, they don't want to be on a monthly held retainer. Like, we better use these 10 hours, or not 10 hours. We're paying X and we have to, utilize it, where the 10 hours sort of puts the freedom in the client's court. I
totally agree with you. I 100%. I believe it is a psychological thing of just feeling that you have peace of mind, knowing that you have, a tech expert at your disposal, but you don't feel that pressure that you got to pay month over month. But the funny thing is, most of my clients are paying month over month because they genuinely need services. It's really funny how it played out. So, that's it. And then what I found after I was consistently onboarding between 4 to 6 new clients every single month, and I've been doing this every single month since the beginning of the year, there's also a need for websites. And this is the niche that I found: custom WordPress websites at a very reasonable cost, So that's it. I'm making websites. I'm selling 10 packs. The people that buy a 10 pack end up getting a website, and the people that come in with a website end up buying a 10 pack. And it's a very harmonious experience.
Yeah, well, it's sort of 2 different services too, because that 10 pack, for, I guess, if you want to say, where you put your IT hat on, involves sometimes troubleshooting pain points and ongoing problems the companies are having, or like you said, it could just be setting up new employees with email accounts and whatnot. But and then the website is now opened up another kind of service, which they do go together, but they are kind of separate at the same time.
Yeah, that's a really funny thing. You know what's very interesting about websites is more often than not, this was a great story that I learned from someone else years ago, but they did this very funny exercise saying, I'm going to clap a song. And the first person to recognize the song, yell it out. Everybody knows this song. And and everyone's saying like, what the heck? What song is that? He goes, okay, I'll give you a hint. I will sing the lyrics and clap the song. First one to recognize it, yell it out. And he goes, take me out to the ball game, and everyone kind of laughed. And he goes, seriously though, this is a problem in most companies. And, things like websites is all too often you might have one department, let's say the IT department, and they all have context. They're all working on the same things. So they use this lingo and these acronyms, and they use all these things where everyone in the IT department can follow along. But if you spoke to the same way to someone in HR, it's like a different language. Like, well, what are you talking about? You got to provide a little more context. Well, in short, this is how most company websites look. It's one of those things you look on it and it's not really clear who you are, what you do, what you're selling. But then if I have a 15-minute phone call with you and you tell me those things, who you are, what you're doing and all that stuff, then when I go back to the website starts to make a lot more sense because I have context. So I would say that is what my specialty is. I call it a fresh eye report. I jump on the phone with someone and I really take the time to understand who you are and what your business is. And then I got the team and expertise to actually design that into a website. And what's been amazing is I have a lot of success stories of the websites that I built where they really increased their bottom line by 30 to 50% just because of their website and their SEO efforts. So that's I'm so proud of that fact. It's like a really good thing that not enough people are doing. And as great as web developers are not designers, and I think most people don't realize that. Is like they say, I need a website, let me hire a developer. It's like, no, you need a website, get a designer first.
Mm-hmm.
And then you give the designs to a developer who can actually build it. And basically that's what I do.
So when I go and get my car fixed over the years, I like to try and establish a rapport with whoever's fixing that car, that mechanic, and build a trusting relationship. Because unless you really take a car class or you really know cars, if they say to you, this is 3,500 versus 5,500, you don't have necessarily the expertise that the average person doesn't know. You can know how much parts and you can go to different places. So now taking this to you, how do you ensure transparency in your pricing, which is a 10-pack is 10 hours? How does First Rate Tech ensure transparency in their pricing?
Well, basically, I publish it online, right? So you don't feel like, okay, you're giving me this price, but what are your other clients paying? Like I clearly show I sell a 10-pack for $750. And you could relate that to 75 an hour, which I get it. It's not cheap, but it's not expensive either. Most people in my realm are usually at the 100 to 150 an hour range. But my intention is I want to be accessible, I want to be available to you, and I want to build a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
So I could charge 150 an hour, but you're always going to think twice before you call me, So at 75 an hour, I want you to buy a 10-pack every single month, or whatever cadence that you need, So that's why I price it like that. And for the websites, 2,500, it's the exact same thing. It's not cheap, but it's really not expensive for a custom WordPress design, develop, mobile optimized, SEO optimized. It's a lot of work to achieve all of those things, but it's worth every single penny.
And you gave me a good point on the phone that, what did you say? It's like when people are looking at your website, your mobile is actually more important, even though sometimes it's harder to navigate or view videos. But people, I think what you're saying is that people put more time into their desktop website. But I don't know, forgive me if the statistic is wrong, but I think you said 66% of websites are viewed on a phone, something like that.
It increases every day. I would actually argue that it's more like 80%. People, when you send someone an email, they're checking it from their phone and the link is in the email. I mean, they're just opening it from their phone. And if you're at a networking event or whatever, and you're talking to people, I mean, it happens all the time. I'll be having lunch with a client. Okay, well, what's your website? Oh, it's firstratetechcorp.com. And they're not even punching in the URL. They're just like, Siri, First Rate Tech, on their phone, and they're opening it up, on their phone. People look at websites on their phone, and that's just the world that we live in today, So you have to make sure your website looks incredible on the phone. And in a matter of 3 seconds, I clearly need to know what it is that you're doing.
Got it. And somebody who adheres to time, can you give me a short or medium short story where your services had a significant impact on the client's business?
Yeah, I mean, I got a bunch of them. I'll share two. Just one. Okay.
Well, if you can do it, it depends on if you can go as short as you did on answer number 1 and give 5. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Anyone that loves classical music knows David Duvall, and David Duvall is a client of mine, and he has a nonprofit called Piano Evenings. Every single Tuesday night, he has a concert. A very intimate setting inside of a church where he brings in 3 world-class pianists, and you can have this 2-hour experience of just being, 15 feet away from an amazing musician. And then David Duvall is doing a little bit of banter and Q&A and sharing some knowledge about the composer, and it's a great experience. And the thing was, they were struggling with ticket sales. They were struggling with awareness. And when I looked at their website, they built a Squarespace website, which is very common. Most people build Wix or Squarespace. But just like that analogy I showed you, it wasn't optimized. It didn't look good on a mobile phone. You actually could not have the capability of purchasing a ticket on the website. That's their business, is selling tickets. So they hired me to build a website. I did that. I built it. And within 30 days of launching that website, where people could actually buy tickets on that website, we 5x'd their attendance. A very significant measurable metric. And it really, I got many success stories just like that by just sort of giving a refresh, giving a redesign, you can really increase your bottom line.
All right. You mentioned how people are looking on their phone. It's clear that, you're not just a, triaging IT type situations, that you have a sense of how business works and your company does, and kind of really customizing needs to whoever the particular prospect / client is. So what are just a couple other just quick trends you're noticing in the tech and website industry, particularly for small businesses?
What I notice is people are self-sufficient. So you gave those examples of setting up a computer or configuring a new email account for an employee. And the thing is, you don't need IT guys to do that stuff anymore. It's really self-serve. You buy a brand new computer from Dell, you simply turn it on and sign into a couple of accounts and you're good to go. Email accounts, it's similar. You're going to office.com, you're signing into your tenant and creating a new account. So I think this is why my model is so successful now, is they really only need me for the more complex stuff.
Gotcha.
It's something where it's like, for instance, a plugin failed and your website crashed, and you might not have the technical skill set to get yourself back up and running. You might feel a little uncomfortable with your cybersecurity, saying is my antivirus enough? or do I need more? You know, and you might just want to have like more of like a strategy consultation. You know, everyone's guilty of saving documents to their desktop. So like the concept of a data warehouse, you know, leveraging things like SharePoint to say, hey, we should have all of our documents in one central place, you know, that the entire company can access. So I don't have to email Susie every time I need, you know, this report. You know, just things like that. This is the stuff that like I'm called on, and it really resonates with small business owners.
Well, you said a lot of interesting things during our chat, and maybe one of the most interesting I thought was when you said your business took a hit at the beginning of 2023, and if you want to call it a failed marketing campaign, and you spent money. I appreciate the honesty, but the way you turned it around with a 10-pack. So before we go here, tell me your plans for growing First Rate Tech Corp, which you've already done. If you have any new offerings in place, and for anybody who wants a consultation or to speak with you, why don't or just reach out? You know, how can they get a hold of you?
FirstRateTechCorp.com. You can just Google First Rate Tech and you will find the links. On my website, I have a Calendly link. You can book a discovery call. I would love to have just 15 minutes just to make sure we're a good fit. And it's really that easy. We can either build you a website or you can buy a 10-pack of tech support hours.
Chris Hobbick, owner of First Rate Tech Corp. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Reach out to him. He can help your business in many different ways, and those ways are growing. Let's not kid. They are just on the up and up. Thank you so much for your time. I am Evan Makovsky, and thank you for listening to Evan Makovsky's business podcast for C-suite executives, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you.